Hello everyone, I'm Bruffy1322 and welcome to episode 3 of the Real Life Racing series, which is going to focus entirely on getting my racing license. So there's 3 steps that you need to take here in the UK to get a racing license. The first is to get this, which is the MSA Go Racing Starter Pack. We'll take a look at that in a second. The second step is to get a medical with a doctor, and the third step is to take the ARDS test. So this video is going to cover the entirety of that process. So even though, we're going to take a look at this Go Racing Starter Pack now, what's in it, what I need to do, but the whole video is going to cover the entire process until I actually go to the track, take my test and get my license. So it will, cover the time span of maybe a few weeks, depending on how long it all takes. In terms of costs, this pack which you need, and that gives you all the information that you need to take your test and also the forms to send out and the payment for your license as well, is around £100, and the ARDS test is usually the circuits charge maybe £300 for that. So you're looking at around £400 before you even start just to get your racing license. And like I said, we'll cover what each step entails as we go through this video. Now, obviously, this is the procedure for, strictly speaking, the UK. That's obviously where I am. This doesn't necessarily mean that you got to do exactly the same things in whatever country that you're in, but I imagine that it's going to be, a relatively similar procedure wherever you are. Now, in the UK, everything is sorted out by the MSA, which is the Motorsports Association. That's who you have to apply to get one of these. As you can see, MSA right there. And that's where you send off all the forms and they end up giving you the license. The license that I'm applying for is a National B race license. So you can also get one of these packs for rally and karting as well, if you want to do any of those on a more competitive level. I've obviously gone for the race pack because I want to race proper cars. And obviously I've talked about my reasons for doing that, why I want to do all that in episodes 1 and 2 of this 2018 series. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting time. It should be an interesting video as we go through all of the steps, and hopefully by the end of it, I'll have my racing license and I'll be, ready to race. But first things first, let's have a look at what's in step 1, which is the MSA's Go Racing Starter Pack. Okay, so like I said, this is the first step to getting your racing license, and there's 3 versions of this. You can get one for racing cars, one for racing karts, or one for rallying. And it's basically, the fact that this costs £100 is, it's a lot of money, but it does include everything that you need to, get your racing license. So first up, we've got sort of all the documents that you need to send off and all the information that you need. So this is, application for a 2018 novice competition license, race national B or truck national. I guess it works for that as well. This is what I'll eventually have to fill in. This is what I need to take to my doctor for a medical, all that kind of stuff. It's basically your standard sort of application form for most things, but got to fill all this in, send it off with a picture, and that will eventually give me my license as long as I've filled in all the necessary things and obviously passed my test as well. And then various bits of information talking you through all the things that you need to do, license notes and all this kind of stuff. So that's some reading for later on tonight. Then we've got a booklet. MSA, welcome to Motorsport, MSA Racing. Like I said, MSA is the Motorsports Association. That's the UK sort of racing association. All these various different things in this booklet, using the pack, what you need to do. Congratulations on taking your first steps into motorsport. So this is an interesting section. What next? Step 1, read up and watch the DVD. I'm guessing there's a DVD. Yep, there it is. So we're going to have to watch that. There's going to be all sorts of information. An electronic version of the MSA's yearbook, commonly known as the Blue Book, the Bible of UK motorsport, detailing all the regulations governing the sport to ensure safety and fair play. When you get your license, you'll receive a hard copy of this book, and I guess that's what the test is going to be on. So I'll talk about the test a bit later on in the video, but there's essentially 2 parts to it. There's a written test and obviously a practical test as well. And the written test will be on, flags, safety, all that kind of stuff. And I'm guessing all that information that I'm going to need to be able to pass that written test is going to be in that DVD. Step 2, choose your ARDS school and book your test. So just as you need to pass a driving test before being issued with your driving license, you must complete a course and pass a test before taking out a race competition license. This is where the Association of Racing Drivers Schools, or ARDS, comes in. More information about the ARDS course and ARDS schools can be found on the following pages. So that's, like I was saying, that's the practical test that I have to do in addition to the written test. That's all done on the same course, and that's what I was talking about at the start of the video. That costs around £300 to do that at various circuits across the UK. Then you need to get a medical, so just go to your GP, go to your doctor, get them to test you on all sorts of things and fill in the application form as themselves. Complete and return the license application form and then get your license. So the ARDS course here, a bit more information about that. ARDS is the Association of Racing Drivers Schools. This is where all the circuits are in the UK that run ARDS tests, I guess. Number 3 is where I'm going to be going to, and that's where I drove the Ferrari in episode 2 at Croft Circuit. So yeah, all the information that you need for anything there, that's where I'll be. That'll be, I guess, the main focus of this video once I've shown off all of this. The ARDS course, what to expect, a briefing first, then talk about safety and on the DVD as well. Then we got the written test, then we got the track test, and then a debrief. So just a general booklet that gives you all the information that you need. Got all the flags there of what are used in motorsport. I'm guessing will be tested on that as well. Bit about safety, motorsport clubs, things like that, other types of motorsport. So yeah, just a bit of booklet with plenty of information on it. And then we get a sample license. So this is what the license will eventually look like. Obviously, this doesn't have my name on it or anything like that. That's a sample license, but hopefully eventually I'll have one of these. That'll be pretty cool. With my my photo on it and all that kind of stuff. Looking forward to getting one of those. It'll feel like such an accomplishment. Then we got the MSA branded pen, because you're paying £100 for something, you got to get a pen with it, of course. and then the DVD. And now the next step really is to book my ARDS test and learn what I need to learn for the written test and get out on track and pass that. So that's the bit that I'll be talking to you next from. Before I do all that, I figured I'd just show you a little bit of the DVD. So we got the different things here. Obviously, it must be the same DVD regardless of which pack that you get. And then we can go into here, go racing, and then we've got lots of different aspects. What happens on the ARDS test, applying for your MSA competition license, lots of information, technical aspects of driving, flag signals, introduction. I'm not going to go into detail and show what's on the DVD. I don't want to get into trouble with copyright or anything like that, but this is what's on there, and I need to watch all these videos, read up on it to be able to pass the test.
During the race, the officials will need to communicate important information to you, and the way that they will do this is via a flag signal at a marshal's post such as this one.
Okay, so it's the 31st of May, and this morning I took my ARDS test. This is now around a month since the last bit of the video that you've just seen, since I recorded that. That's how long it's taken to, get the test organised and get a date for it and actually get it done. And it's just over a month since I was last at Croft Circuit doing the Ferrari experience. And I was on my own. I was the only person there today taking the ARDS test. So I had the entirety of Croft Circuit to myself, which was pretty cool. It's very rare that you run a racing circuit on your own. So that was quite nice. But yeah, I'll walk you through everything that happened. I wasn't really able to get any footage from it. I did ask if I could put the GoPro that I used in episode 1 inside the car. But it is an exam. It's an examination. It's a test. So it's understandable that I'm not able to film any of it. So that's unfortunate. But hopefully it won't be too long until I'm in a proper racing car or something where I can actually use the GoPro that I used for the karting all those years ago and for episode 1 of this series, and actually bring you some action on the track. But I went there. It was really early morning. Got there for 9 a.m. and then I met the instructor, and we had basically a sort of an hour and a half long conversation about where he just went over everything and talked about what it's like racing and going. He had this big long list of things that he was required to talk about and inform me about and all that kind of stuff beforehand. So that was kind of the first briefing. And then once that was done, I took the written test. So there was a written test of various different questions. Now, the first part of that test was all the flags. So you need to know what yellow flags mean, red, green, blue, white, purple for the code 60, what flags are used to start the race, end the race, what the distinction is between a waved yellow flag and a stationary yellow flag, or a slippery surface flag, whether it's waved or stationary. You have to be able to make that distinction as well. So you're essentially given all of these scenarios where flags can be used, and you have to say which flag would be used in that scenario. You're not allowed to get any of those questions wrong. If you do, you fail immediately. The next part is like based on safety and things like that, but that was a tad easier. The questions there were quite interesting. There was one question that sticks out in my mind where it was, if you have a crash or an accident, what should you do? And it's all multiple choice. And one of the answers that you could have put was call Autosport and tell them what happened, or call a friend or something like that as well. So it was very much a case of common sense on that bit. You didn't really have to have studied up for that section. Again, you couldn't get any of those wrong. If you got even one of those wrong, you would have failed. But even if you've got a small amount of knowledge of motorsport, you would be fine. And then there was the final section, which was sort of general testing of your knowledge on motorsport. And there was those questions were a little bit, I would say, more challenging than the second ones, but you could get a few of those wrong and still be able to pass. Things like, what is understeer, oversteer, what does the heel and toe technique do, and things like that. But nothing too difficult, and it's not too difficult for someone who is knowledgeable about motorsport, watches it all the time, stuff like that, to be able to do well on that test. I got full marks on that bit, so that was all fine. And then it was time to move on to the driving test. So that was everything done. All that we needed to do at this point was just drive and show that I could be competent with a car on a track. Now, what the instructor was saying to me was that they're not looking for speed. They're not looking for you to be really quick immediately and just go flat out and break lap records or anything like that. Even if you were to be going relatively slowly, that's fine. All they want to do is to be able to confirm to themselves and to the MSA, the Motorsport Association, that you can competently drive a car around a track following the correct racing lines. So again, what you can do with these courses, and a lot of the courses offer this, is to get a little bit of tuition beforehand. So one-to-one tuition with an instructor, say you do an hour's worth of that, and then you go into your test and do the 6 laps. Basically, it's 6 laps, but he drove around, the instructor, for 2 laps. Then we swapped over. I did 3 laps where he was talking, and then I did another 3 laps where he was just shut up completely. And that was what I was sort of being tested on, those final 3 laps. But you can also pay extra to get some tuition beforehand from an instructor, and a lot of the circuits offer this. And obviously, based on your knowledge, experience, skill level, things like that, that might be a good option to look into. Most people seem to do that, and the instructor did kind of ask me why I hadn't, because I hadn't taken up that option. And the reason that I hadn't done that is because of the comments that the instructor made in the previous episode of the series with when I was driving the Ferrari, that if I'd driven like that, I would have passed my test fine. So I thought, all right, let's just go into it. Let's just do the test. And so I got in, did the laps in the Mini, it was, and I was certainly going slower than what I did in the Ferrari. In the Ferrari, I got up to about 120 miles per hour on the main straight, whereas I didn't get over 70 in the Mini, and that was fine. I could have accelerated even more, but the instructor was like, you don't need to do that. Just get around the track, follow the racing lines. Obviously, if you're going at a snail's pace in every single corner and not following lines, then they wouldn't pass you for that either. But it's not a test of speed. It's more a test of competence and being consistent. So yeah, got that done. He said that was all fine, passed that totally fine. So I passed my ARD test. I got my stamp that I needed on the form that I'm going to be sending off to the MSA, and if anyone's interested in, my actual results, I guess you could say, for the driving part of it, that's there. But yeah, at this point now, it's kind of just a bit of a formality. I just need to get the forms sent off, and my racing license will be in the post shortly after that. So I've passed. I'm going to be the proud holder of a National B racing license, and that will mean that I can race cars of various different categories in the UK. And that's obviously the next step. I've been taking this as a step-by-step thing. This was all about getting a racing license. I've managed to do that. So the next step is to look into what I'm going to be racing, where I want to do it, all that kind of stuff. And obviously you guys will be coming along for the ride on that as well. But yeah, I passed. I'm very happy. It's a nice feeling, for that achievement that I've passed my test. I guess officially a racing driver, only at a very basic level, but it all counts, and I'm looking forward to getting my actual physical card license. But yeah, I'm really happy. So stay tuned. There's going to be more to come from this. If you haven't seen the previous 2 episodes of the Real Life Racing series, go watch those. And you guys are sort of coming with me on every stage of this journey to racing in proper cars. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know all your thoughts down below. Hopefully this has been helpful for anybody who's planning to take their own test or wants to know more information about it. If you have any questions as well, feel free to leave it down below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.